Okay, so the first question was question 3 of 2017. Ne? All right. So I told you guys that there are 4 ways of finding a gradient. Now, the first question refers to the gradient of AC. Now, the first way is if you have 2 coordinates. Ne? You've got A as a coordinate, or maybe there's another one, or you've got C's. Then you can calculate it with the gradient formula. That was not the case in this question. Second way is if you have the inclination angle, then you can calculate it by saying tan of the angle, then you get the gradient of the line. You didn't have the angle. The last 2 ways is if perhaps there's a parallel line or a perpendicular line. If there was a parallel line, you would take the parallel line's gradient as it is. If there was a perpendicular line, you would swap the gradient around, reciprocal, and give it a negative. Now, if I look at this, they told me that these 2 lines are perpendicular. And I have the equation of line BD. So what I said is, BTD is 2y plus x is 18. I shuffled it to standard position. Then I knew that BD's gradient is negative a half, but BD is perpendicular to AC, so the gradients must be equal, the product of the gradients must be negative 1, therefore the gradient of AC is 2. Did you get it right? Next, they wanted you to find the equation of AC in the form y equal to mx plus c. So if you've got the gradient, all you need is another point, a coordinate on the straight line, which I had, it was A. And I substitute A's coordinate into the equation, and then I can find C to be negative 1. My equation is 2x minus 1. Now when I look at the next question, if the equation of AC is y equal to 2x minus 1, it's great because that was the answer that I got, ne? So I know I got the first 2 right. They are telling you if that's the equation, calculate the coordinates of t. So what they wanted you to see here at t, or at this question, is that t is the point of intersection between these 2 straight lines. Now, do you remember I told you how to calculate the point of intersection? You let the 2 equations be equal to each other. So they gave you BTD. Now they also gave you AC, but you also found it in the previous question. So all you need to do is let them be equal to each other. And then I don't like the denominator, so I multiply everything with 2. And then I simplify it. I get x to be 4. You take that 4, you put it into either one of the equations. And then you get y to be 7. Are you done? Okay, 3.4.1. Determine now they're saying ABCD is a kite. Determine the coordinates of C. Now I want you to look here so that you are sure you understand what happened. The fact that they are telling you this is a kite gives you the information that T is the midpoint of AC. Do you understand that? Because when we've got a kite, we know that this diagonal bisects this diagonal. Okay, just the one, the other. So we just calculated T to be 4 and 7. Now what you can do is you can use the midpoint formula. Remember, midpoint is the only one you can use to find 2 coordinates. So even though you know that this length is 15, even if you had this coordinate, you can't use distance formula because you've got 2 variables. So we have to use midpoint. So you can say minus 2 plus x divided by 2 is equal to 4. Or minus 5 plus y divided by 2 is equal to 7. That's the one way. Or you can use the shortcut. You remember the shortcut? I say what happened to negative 2 to become 4? Negative 2 to become 4 plus 6. 4 plus 6, 10. Then you've got the x value. What happens from negative 5 to become 7? Plus 12. What is 7 plus 12? And then you've got the coordinate of C. But you don't have to use the shortcut method, okay? You can use the normal formula where you've got the answer of midpoint x and the answer of midpoint y. I just counted it. Alright, next up you had to find the length of BT for 4 marks. So the thing with BT is you don't have the coordinates of of B. So you can't calculate the distance. But I saw that it's part of a right angle triangle, which means I may possibly be able to do Pythagoras. I have the length of BC because they told me so, and I should know as well when I have a kite, the adjacent sides are equal. So I'm going to calculate CT, and once I have CT, I can do Pythagoras to find BT. Do you all understand the plan? Okay, so CT I calculate with the distance formula, it's 6 root 5. And then I use Pythagoras. BC was 15 squared minus CT, which is 6 root 5 squared. Do the calculation, then you get an answer of root 45. Now in an exam, I can't mark root 45 correct because it's not in its simplest surd form. So whenever you get to a surd answer, just take your calculator and type the surd answer and see if it doesn't simplify it further. You don't have to do that simplification. Let your calculator do it. And if you took it to a decimal, it's 6,71. Now the last question, I told you guys that it had some Euclidean geometry in there. So I don't know, did you guys notice what you had to do there? Not? No one. Okay, let me show you quickly. So they're asking what's the length of the radius of a circle that passes through B, T, and C. Now, what you have inside of B, T, and C is a right angle triangle. Can you all see? B, T, C is right angle. Can you remember what does it mean when you've got a 90-degree angle on the circumference of a circle? Angle in a semicircle, no? What's that line called that cuts the circle in half? What's half of a diameter? What's the length of this diameter? What's the length of the radius? 7.5, because of the converse of angle in a semicircle. Do you see? It's very easy Euclidean. But they throw it in there and then we're confused. We get scared. Okay, can we move on to question 4? Right, first one, the gradient of AB. I hope you saw that that was a very simple one. Eh? You had the two coordinates, nothing to wonder about. You can just calculate it with the gradient formula 5/3. Four 4.2, determine the coordinates of point E. Now, I told you guys before you left, you can just quickly take a look here as well. I told you that I would go and find the equation of the straight line, because that's the straight line that E lies on. And I know that E, did we speak about this one or not? Okay, sorry. The bell went earlier, I remember now. This straight line, I have the gradient of. So I can find the equation. And when I have the equation, do you see that E is the intercept? So when a line cuts an axis at a specific point, we know that at that point, either x or y is equal to 0. So which one is equal to 0 here with E? Y. So I have y equal to 0. But I don't know what x is. Okay, so if I can have the equation of the straight line, I can substitute the y value with 0 and therefore calculate the x value. Do you understand the plan that I'm making? Okay. So if you chose that plan, it would look like this. I took the gradient that I just calculated. I substituted the point B. You can take B or A into the equation, and I found the equation. This is now the equation of A, E, B. I found the equation, and then I substituted the y value with 0. And then I found x to be negative 16/5. I want to show you another method as well, if you didn't use this method. Are you done writing? Okay. The other method that you could have used is, you might have noticed that A, E, and B are what we call collinear. Do you remember collinear? Okay, collinear means that these points are on the same straight line. And when we have points on the same straight line, it means their gradients are the same. So you just calculated the gradient of AB. It's 5/3. You only have one variable, ne? One unknown. So you could have used the gradient formula as well. And you say y minus y. So I took A's y, negative 3, minus E's y, divided by A's x, negative 5, minus E's x, which was the unknown. And I know that the answer must be equal to 5/3 because those points are collinear. Do you understand? And then you solve for x and you find the same answer, negative 16/5. Are you done? Okay. The next one was pretty easy. Determine the size of alpha. So I said that the tan of alpha will be equal to the gradient of AEB. So the tan of alpha is equal to the gradient of AB. Therefore, alpha will be shift tan of 5/3, and then I get 59 degrees. They said they round off to the nearest whole number. Did you struggle with 4.4? Oh, yes. Look here. We've calculated that angle to be 59 degrees. And now they are telling us that this angle is 76 degrees. They want to find the equation of a line that passes through A, but it's parallel to BC. Do you agree with that? That was the question. So I only have one coordinate. But because this line is parallel to that line, I can maybe go and see if there isn't another coordinate there, or two coordinates here. But when you look at this, you've only got B. You don't have the coordinates of C. All you know is that it's got a Y that's 0, but it can be anywhere. So what we're going to do, look how easy it is I'm going to find the size of this angle C with exterior angle of a triangle. So that will be 135 degrees. This angle is equal to the sum of those two angles. Do you understand that? And if I have this angle as 135, I can find the gradient of this line. The tan of 135 will be the gradient of BC. And the gradient of BC must be the same as the gradient of the line passing through A that's parallel to BC. Do you understand that? Okay. So I said those three, or 59 plus 76 is equal to 135, exterior angles of a triangle. Then I said the tan of 135 is equal to the gradient of BC, so the gradient of BC is -1. Now, I'm just saying this for you to understand. You don't have to add this in the answer. Because of the parallel lines, the gradients will be equal. So therefore, I know that this gradient of the line that I want to calculate of is also -1. It passes through point A, so I can substitute A into the equation, and then I find y to be negative x minus 8. Okay, you can do 2016 for me. Question 3 and question 4. But now with question 3 and question 4 of 2016, I am not going to say anything. But you have time in class now to do it. So you are allowed to ask me, but I don't want to help you right from the beginning. Okay. And then I just want to give you the answer of 3.1. So after you've done it, just so you know you're on the right track. So you can start now. 3.1. I'll give you the answer of the midpoint now.